I told you a few days ago about the big risk sequence of return risk if you're transitioning into retirement and the stock market is expensive, it's at heightened valuations. What do you do? How do you make sure you don't step into retirement and then have a couple bad years in the market and realize you should have stayed working a couple more years? I'm going to help you solve that coming up right now. My name is Mike Bernard. I am the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so here is the deal. Here is the deal, folks. Right now, we've had lots of stimulus. We've had lots of what I would call manipulation into a free market. Necessary, I'm sure. Okay, I'm not going to speculate on that. But there's been a lot of intervention. And so even during a pandemic, one of the worst economic times in history, stock market went straight down and went straight back up. It did. And, you know, lots of risk and so on. We've got the election. I don't know if you've heard, we got an election coming up. And there's all sorts of uncertainty with second wave and everything else. But the stock market's way back up. And if you look at really several metrics, you would say the stock market is expensive. Now, it can stay expensive for a long time. It doesn't mean a crash is inevitable because it's expensive. It doesn't. It just means the stock market is expensive, the economy needs to catch up to it, or something else needs to solve and be solved in order for things to be justified. Maybe it's just that we don't see as high of returns for a little bit in the future, or maybe there is another correction or another drop. But the stock market's back up, so if you've been preparing for retirement, likely you've seen a nice tailwind on your investments. And you might look at your portfolio working with your certified financial planner and say, I'm ready. I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to retire. And you retire at a time when now you step away from that paycheck, you're relying on your investments to provide you that income at a time when they might deliver below average returns for the foreseeable future. And as we talked about a few videos ago with sequence of return risk, if you start your retirement with a couple bad years in the market right away, that can completely derail your retirement and effectively mean your risk of running out of money goes up significantly. So how do you manage that right now? I've got two solutions for you. The very first one is actually, we've been doing it for 20 years here, and it's actually gotten some mainstream attention over the past 5 years or so. Lots of other places call it the buckets of money approach. We call it a personal pension plan. If I ran a pension company and I told you, or a pension fund, and I told you, hey, thanks for working all these years, in exchange for that, I promise, out of the goodness of my heart, I'll give you $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. Oh, wow, that's great. What if I don't live that long? Okay, I'll give you $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. Oh, what if I live for a long time? I'll give you $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. That's it. Okay, so good. Sounds great. How do I manage that investment for you to keep that promise of giving you $1,000 in month 1 and month 360, or whatever? Well, the way I keep that promise is I have a certain amount of low risk dollars that even if the market crashes, I can continue to give you $1,000 a month because this short-term money wasn't susceptible to that big drop. And then I've got intermediate term money that is taking a little bit of risk, but it's designed to deliver more income, okay? And that income is feeding into that first area that where we're sending you the $1,000 a month. And then the long-term money, though, the money that you won't need for 10 years or 20 years, but still I've kept this promise to you, that's where I really need to fight inflation and I really need to get my growth. So that's my long-term money that I'll have invested in the markets. And when things go down or it crashes, I don't panic because I've got these first two areas, but when things go up, I can trim off some of the gains and I can refill these first two areas. We call that the personal pension plan. That is what you need. That is what you need. Now, many people don't have pensions these days, and pensions are really just fixed annuities where you're locking up a bunch of money in exchange for a payment for the rest of your life, so you don't have a lot of flexibility, and that's why J.G. Wentworth has a job and I need cash now because all I have is this stream of income. You know, all sorts of reasons to not lock up your money into a fixed income stream. I get that. But we still want to mimic that promise, that guarantee that you're not going to outlive your money. And the way to do that is to figure out how much you need in the short term and invest the right amount of money in short-term tools. So you get a consistent amount of income each and every month. And then calculate how much money you need over the intermediate term. Set that into medium risk investments that pay a good interest rate. We've talked about that. That's harder these days, but you can still find it working with the right advisors. And so that's providing income. And then the rest of the dollars, hopefully a large, significant portion is invested for growth that's going up and down. Okay, so that's number one. How do you manage sequence of return risk? How do you manage retiring right now when risks are elevated? There's lots of market manipulation. Make sure you're using a personal pension plan. Okay, that's number one. The second, though, is crucial. It's not, well, number one's good, but maybe you don't need number two. No, you've got to have both of these suggestions in order to combat sequence of return risk, and that is you need a momentum type strategy in these different buckets. You need a momentum type strategy in that income bucket. In the old days meaning 6 months ago, when you could just in that income bucket, you could just buy some dividend stocks and some bonds and you're good to go. No longer, because your dividend stocks are now more expensive and there's more risk with those. And those bonds, they're paying no interest and there's huge risk with those if we see interest rates spike. You can't just throw it in the traditional tools and say that'll work. Okay, you're not getting the income and you're getting more risk. And then same with the long-term money. The last time we had valuations this high in the US stock market, the 10 years that followed were the lost decade. It didn't deliver anything. You've got to, in that long-term bucket, be prepared for bubble and burst type scenario. I'm not fear-mongering, I'm helping you get prepared, manage this sequence of return risk. So your short-term money, still short-term tools. Your income and intermediate term money, you've got to have some dynamic, some momentum type of strategy so that, hey, when income is working, here's what you're using. But if the tide turns and all of a sudden high yield or real estate or dividend paying investments start tanking, you've got to have an escape hatch, some sort of mechanism to pivot momentum. And then same with your large cap, your long term, your large growth. Right now they've been in large growth, okay? But if everything starts crashing, if we see another tidal wave where it doesn't matter, US, international, large, mid, small, it's all dropping at the same time, you've got to have an ability to adapt with that changing momentum in your long-term dollars so that you can still achieve an active, long-term, good return even if we go into another lost decade. So you need that. If you're looking at retirement either right now or soon or you just retired, you've got to have that personal pension plan, a design that fits within your entire comprehensive financial plan, and you've got to be utilizing the right investment strategy that includes a momentum strategy for your income and for your long-term dollars. Not exclusively, but it's got to be a component in there. Work with your certified financial planner. Both of those, that's part of comprehensive financial planning. Work with your CFP, make sure you're taking the right approach there. If you don't have a CFP or need a second opinion, you can always contact one of my team members. I've got a full team of CFPs and CPAs that can help. Reach out to us. You can find us online, korhorn.com, that's Korhorn with a K, or wisemoneyshow.com. Find us there as well. Call us, 574-247-5898. That's 574-247-5898, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.